Ashlee, welcome today. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So, I know that when you were in high school, you took a career survey, and the results indicated that you might want to be a librarian or work in a sandwich shop. And when you got that piece of paper, you realized that those weren't either of the things that you were expecting the survey to tell you about. So, what were you interested in? What were you good at that time? And what were you kind of expecting for those results to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, even though it was just a short time ago when I graduated from high school, we're all just kidding. But I remember getting those results and thinking, like, they're supposed to be doctor or lawyer or something on here. Like, I don't like sandwiches, and the library is not where I want to spend a lot of my time. So I was just like, there's got to be something more here. And I knew that what I wanted to do was to help people, and I knew that I liked to talk. So I wanted to figure out, what could I really do that would bring those two pieces together. And so that's something where I started to research and look at, what else is out there? What else is out there that's going to allow me to utilize those skills? And then I also love to write. I love to write, and those verbal and written skills, I knew there was something out there that would allow me to grow in those areas while still being able to serve others.
Wow. So as a young person, you kind of get these survey results, right? And I can remember because we're about the same age when you would take those surveys and they would hand you the paper and it would feel like, oh, absolutely, I'm going to become a whatever was on there.
Right.
And right. And then you kind of are, you're so young and you're just like, wait a minute, I don't know if that's really what I want to do. But it sounds like at that time you knew what your interests were and you knew what your strengths were, that you love to talk and you love that interaction with other people. You love to write, all about communication, and you had that heart, that passion for helping others. So where are you now and how did you get there?
Well, I think what's also interesting is I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew what I was good at, what I liked, but I didn't have a clear path of, this is exactly what I want to do. But I knew that my potential extended beyond making sandwiches and being around books all day. And so what I was able to do was really employ the support of people around me. I had a teacher who said to me, you can write your own ticket. He was my 11th grade teacher at Gateway. And that statement alone just propelled this fire in me that I have the ability to direct my path and where I go, and not have it dictated by other people or by a sheet of paper or by the limitations that are placed on me by people who know or don't know me. And so one of the things that I was fortunate enough to be able to do was say, okay, now that I've graduated from high school and I'm going to college, what do I want to do? Like I literally looked through the book and said, okay, what interests me? And so there's almost a beauty in not having this narrowed path, because you open up your options and your opportunities. So I ended up majoring in speech communications, surprise, surprise, all of that talking, and started as a school social or as a therapist. And I parlayed that into moving into the schools, because my mom said to me, you really need to get into the school system. And I said, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. But I listened to her, and I listened to why she thought that the schools would be a really good opportunity for me. So I moved from being a school social worker. I went back to school to get my master's in education after getting my master's in social work. And then started learning more about education, to then become an assistant principal, a principal, and now the director of an entire department in the same school district where I was a student.
Wow. So that's quite a path.
Yes.
And I love how you said, like, you didn't necessarily know what you wanted to do, but you knew where your interests were and you knew where your passion was. And it seems like you were flexible and that you really were interested in growth and
Right.
exploring new things. You didn't feel like you were locked into just one thing.
Yes. Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so when you think about that, and you think about where you are now, you are the leader of a very large team in a very large district in, a metropolitan area. So what are some of the skills that you use every day that you learned in high school?
Yeah. So those written skills and those verbal skills, understanding how to connect with others and how to speak with others. It's important to know what should be said versus what should be kept in your head. Those are important skills as well. Because even though we all have opinions, they're not always appropriate to share. But that was really something that I had to learn. So I know some people might laugh at that, but holding my tongue was very much a skill that that I needed to learn, and knowing that everyone didn't care about what I thought. And so I wanted to make sure that there was something or some sort of avenue where it's like, where can I showcase all that this personality and the outgoing nature that that I really had developed and nurtured as a high school student. And so obviously, you know, having a teacher and multiple teachers, it wasn't just one, but what he said just really resonated with me. But I had teachers who pushed my written skills, who provided opportunities for me to grow as a learner and expand and not just kind of stay in this bubble. So those are all skills, and those people skills, those EQ or those soft skills are ones where I had to learn and develop over time, but that I use every single day in collaborating with others, problem solving, listening to what people are saying and what they're not saying, because sometimes that's where we really get to a person's intentions, is around what we don't hear them say. And so we have two ears to be able to listen twice as much as we talk. And so it's really important that I am a listener for parents, for students, for my team, for teachers, for leaders, to really understand their needs.
Wow, Ashlee, that's so fascinating. Thank you so much for elevating the role of listening in communication. Because I think oftentimes when we think about a leader, oftentimes people might think of like a boss, right? Like someone who kind of tells people what to do or manages people. But for you, you really helped us think about leadership in a different way. In some ways, leadership is really about listening and then being able to communicate ideas and to communicate to so many different people. I mean, you just mentioned all of the groups that you communicate with on a daily basis.
Yes. Yeah.
So thinking about that passion that you have, as you know, that deep need in you to serve others, to help others, the communication skills and the soft skills that you have really developed over time. You think about your position now as a leader, that you are often in a position where you're hiring other people. So when you're thinking about hiring employees, what are you looking for?
Well, it's interesting because one of the things when I was talking about my mom saying, you know, you really need to get into the schools, the first thing I thought was, I've never worked in a school before. And I remember looking at that list and going, well, there's certain things on here that I don't have. And had I continued to think like that, I wouldn't have applied for the position. And I think that there are some times where people look at the qualifications or the expectations of the job, and they see one thing that maybe doesn't fall in line with their experiences and go, nope, I'm not going to apply for the job. And really pushing yourself and putting yourself out there means applying for that job. Even if there are just a few things that maybe don't match, because in being able to connect with the person who's doing the hiring or the supervisor, what I look for in those conversations is this person a learner? Can this person be taught? Can they grow? Are they coachable? Are they reflective? Are they authentic? Do they have passion? Because those are things that I can't teach. There are things that are usually on that list that you may not know how to do proficiently, but we can teach you how to do those things. So in looking at that and going into the interview or going in to talk to that person, think about those skills that they are looking for that can't be taught. And that's what I look for because I need people who can work together, who can be collaborative, who are honest, have integrity. And at the end of the day, when things get really tough, such as in the middle of a pandemic, they need to have perseverance. And those are things that people have to come with. And those are the things that you share with your employer. Why should you hire me? because I have skills and resources and tools that cannot be taught, but I can learn anything that you're willing to teach me.
Wow, Ashlee, you just completely opened up so many doors and so many windows for everyone. Because, we're thinking about that when you are, seeking out either in your first job, wherever that might be, or, later in life when you're looking at job descriptions, it can feel really overwhelming to think I might not have all of those skills. But you really just gave us, I think, this bit of agency, if you will, that we should go for it. So in closing, what's your advice for young people in terms of, their careers and where they're headed?
My advice would be not to sell yourself short. I think we limit ourselves. We limit what we're able to do, and we need to take those shackles off of us mentally and emotionally, and think through, like, really, the world is yours. The horizon is endless. And sometimes it's just taking a risk. You cannot grow without taking some sort of risk. So what I would tell students is take calculated risks in where it is that you want to go and what your goals are, so that you're not just limiting yourself to what's on a piece of paper, but really in terms of thinking about who I can be, and what my mind is capable of pushing myself to. So push yourself and take risks.
Ashlee, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.